Hey everybody, you want to see something cool? Check this out. This is Slick Nichols. He's one of the deities from the upcoming Florida Man RPG. Specifically the god of greed, luck, and trickery. Slick doesn't offer blessings, but rather deals. He normally receives prayers from degenerate gamblers, hopeless hustlers, and covetous crooks. If you didn't know, I'm building a Florida Man RPG, and my small team of talented artists and I have been making great progress. In addition to realizing we needed slightly more capital, I also received quite a few emails asking if we could extend or expand the pre-launch, so we did. Remember, anyone who contributes to the pre-launch gets their name on a special thank you page in the book, as well as access to our Discord channel where they can provide feedback and suggestions for the game. Plus, you'll get updates and previews that no one else can see. So click the link in the description and head on over to the GoFundMe to get on board. By the way, I'll be performing at the Clockwork Alchemy Con this year. It's at the end of October, so if you're near the Bay Area, check it out. Okay, that's all. Thanks. Hey everybody.
I guess we're gonna do it without the background tonight. I don't know where the background went, but it's not here. So let's see. Can I do this? No, I need to do this one. Yes, yes, I am the pirate. And boom, we should have background here shortly. Boom, there's the background. Hey, look, we're on the ship. And I am your host. You may know me as the rogue pirate archaeologist, the pirate archaeologist, Captain Bartholomew Bones McCoy, and this is Rogue Bard Advice, a D&D TTRPG, life, sports, and everything podcast. And speaking of sports, we're back in football season, but we will get to that in Chat as we stroll down memory lane. Tonight, we have 6 or so questions, plus we have our deadly dungeon, and I'm going to adjust this so I'll be looking at it. And we have to talk about some more 5th edition stuff. Matter of fact, let me pull those back up because I had to restart the computer. I don't know why I always have to restart the computer, but I do. So I want you over here. So with that being said, we're going to move right on to our updates today. Hi, Miss Pirate. I'd also like to take this time to welcome in all of our regulars and all of our subscribers. And if you like the stream, hit the like button, hit the notification button so you get notified that we go live. Maybe we go live once, maybe we go live twice a night. Depends on how the buffering goes. So I'd like to take into with Kirk, Ron, Ruby, Yokai, Teeny, Pirate Wife. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Let's get into it. So, on tonight, let's see. Is it this one? Yes, it is. Look at this. We have a date of September 2nd, 1973. That date just passed. Well, the anniversary of that date just passed. Now, if you guys notice the title of the screen, the stream rather, and we are at episode 30, which I thought fitting for the title. We are the Fellowship. But September 2nd, 1973, at the age of 81 years old, J.R.R. Tolkien passed away. And we, as D&D DMs and players and fantasy lovers and everything, would not be here. Gary Gygax probably would not have started Dungeons and Dragons if it wasn't for J.R.R. Tolkien. Hats off to J.R.R. Sad that was the anniversary of his passing, but his memory lived on. And his memory lived on with Christopher Tolkien until Christopher Tolkien passed away in 2016. Now the estate is running the Tolkien legacy, and I think it's down to his granddaughter, who is doing everything with the estate. So yes, thank you, Kirk. Hats off to J.R.R. Tolkien. Hats off to that. Without him, we would not be doing what we do today. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and roll in to our first question of the evening. And that question comes from Kirk. Wait. It should be that one. Why is it not that one? Alright. Well, that messed up. I don't know what that hotkey is. Military Fox, welcome in. Thank you for joining the live stream. So we're working with our first question right now. And the first question is, I recently saw a clip, and this is from Kirk. I recently saw a clip from The Martian. First of all, Kirk, what are you doing watching movies when you have minis to paint? You could be watching the movie and painting your minis at the same time. Anyway, in the movie The Martian, the main character claims that due to something he does, that he's just become the first space pirate. But then I see people pointing out that this isn't actually the case. That since he is a U.S. astronaut using U.S. gear, he's in the clear. It's disappointing. So, what do you hope will be the first act of space piracy? Or is space piracy even possible? I mean, no parrots, no rum, no wind to wave the Jolly Roger. Well, Kirk, we're gonna go full screen live for this one. Firstly, I want to tell you this, that everybody who says that just because he's a U.S. astronaut and he's using U.S. equipment does not make them correct. They are actually in the wrong. Because, if you remember, he says he's acquiring a piece of equipment without authorization. He's going over to the Ares 4 lander and going to acquire that Ares 4 lander without the permission of NASA. He was strictly told, if you remember the beginning, that nobody's to go over to the Ares 4 mission area. So he's going against orders and stealing a spaceship. That is space piracy. That is by far, hands down, space piracy. Absolutely. So you are correct. He is the first space pirate. Now, with that being said, just because there's no wind in space doesn't mean you can't fly the Jolly Roger. You can paint the Jolly Roger on the side of the space shuttle or spaceship or whatever. You could put a bar in the Jolly Roger and hang it off the side of the spaceship like a flag. I mean, endless possibilities are abound. The problem is you're be limiting yourself to what you do. Because the only way to become a space pirate is to do something against other groups that are spacefaring groups. And if you're the only one in space, what's the point of being a space pirate? You could inhabit the moon, you could take over a moon or a planet, and you could be a space pirate that way. But that would be a lonely existence. So, but yeah, my thing about space piracy would be something similar akin to Firefly or to The Expanse, or even a TV show that I just finished on Disney Plus. And if you guys haven't seen it yet, it's a pretty good TV show. And it kind of coincides and similar to what I am reading on my Tuesday TikTok, which is Treasure Island. I think Disney, being the fact that they own the movie rights to Treasure Island and Treasure Planet, and now they own Star Wars, they made a Treasure Planet for kids on Disney Plus named Skeleton Crew. Jude Law, absolute phenomenal as a space pirate named Silver. Obviously, I got Long John Silver in the dang movie or in the dang TV series, but Treasure Planet is a greatly underrated movie, Fox, and they need to make a live action. If they were to make anything live action, they're redoing all of the princess movies live action. Make a live action Treasure Planet. Kirk says, if he has Starlink access and I use it to listen to stolen music, does that make me a space pirate? Yes, absolutely. You are a space pirate pirating pirated music. It would make him the king of space, Fox, if he does take over a planet or a moon. And you know, if I were to take over a moon, I'd have to bring Fox on board, because Fox could build me a laser. And having a moon with a laser beam in space, I think would just be phenomenal. They have to do it right, though. I don't trust Disney not to screw it up. Yes, I do agree. However, that being said, Fox, Disney owns Lucasfilm. Disney owns Marvel. Could you see the possibilities of Treasure Planet being a Lucasfilm Marvel collaboration in partnership with Disney? All we want is a moon with a freaking laser attached to it. Is that too much to ask? No, it's not. And then we just need somebody to fly up and say, that's no moon, that's a space station. Anyway, Kirk, I hope you got an answer there. That was a fun question. I do appreciate that question. But we do have to move on tonight. Our second question, let's see if I can do this. Out of the monster manual. That's not our second question, but it'll work. What monster would you want to play as a character? Out of the monster manual. As a character? How about a doppelganger? I mean, a doppelganger is a race or a monster that can shapeshift. And if you could shapeshift, you could shapeshift into any character you want. You could shapeshift into the king and kill the king and claim that he was... You could do that. But that also ties into one of the things we discussed in one of our very first episodes. If I could have one item in D&D, what would it be? And I chose a leather wristband with a green emerald in the center, imbued with the polymorph self spell that you could use infinite amount of times, but you don't get to choose what you polymorph into. You roll a D100, and whatever number comes up, you go to that page in the monster manual, and that's the monster you turn into. So while it is likely that you could polymorph yourself into a dragon, so the dice would give you, it's equally likely that you could polymorph into a crab with a knife. So, I like that question. As a character player, though, definitely doppelganger. Definitely doppelganger. But thank you for that question, Ron. That was a great question. Ruby's question's in here somewhere, too. But I don't see her. But Bacon, our friendly across-the-pond ucker, asked a question. Hey, I got it right. Look at that. She was asked at work if we would rather have 7 fingers on each hand or 7 toes on each foot. Now, this got me thinking. For the older generations in the chat who remember Schoolhouse Rock and the song Little 12 Toes, I think neither 7 fingers on each hand or 7 fingers on each foot. I think 6 fingers on each hand and 6 fingers on each foot. Because then you could count to 12 easier. And everything would be divisible by 12. Well, everything is divisible by 12, or 12 is the basis of everything. But 12 inches. It's not 10 inches. Everything that we do is based on a 12-digit system. Technically, even our calendar is a 12-month system. And before people in the chat go wild, it's actually based on a 13-month system. If you separate the months and you put exactly 30 days in each month, or not 30 days, if you put 28 days in each month, you get 13 months. So somewhere along the line, we lost a month. Fingers, while monkey toes are good for picking things up, fingers would help me type faster, and you do more with your hands and your feet. Fox, you need to ask my wife about monkey feet or monkey toes, because that she calls me that all the time, because I can literally pick up things that you wouldn't necessarily think you could pick up with your feet. I almost have like opposable thumbs on my feet. Yes, dear, there are 28 days in each month, but if you only limit each month to 28 days, you add an extra month. Because think about it. October. It is the 10th month of the calendar, right? But Oc is 8. Sept for September, Sept is 7. But September is the 9th month. November is the 11th month, but the root for November is 9. December, D, Deca, 10. That's the 10th month. So you wouldn't need a leap year anymore, Fox. If you had 28 days a year or a month, you wouldn't need a leap year. You can blame the Romans for that, because the Gregorian calendar was so much better. But Julius Caesar wanted the Julian calendar. So Well, anyway, that's what I would do. Instead of 7 fingers on each hand and each foot, I would do 6. Because you would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, ek, L, and do. And do, the 12th digit, would just be written as 1, 0. And you would just drop a 0 into everything, and for some reason it works to count to 12s easier. Yeah, we're slowing down, Fox. Or speeding up. We're fixing to be at 366 days a year anyway, so it doesn't matter. Or you could have 1 month with 29 days, and then we would be fine. Yeah, exactly. $13 at the table made 13 bad luck. Yeah. I can see that. All right. Bacon, I hope that was a good answer for you. We're going to move on to our next question. Oh. Wow, we're already like 3 questions in, and we're only at like 14 minutes or so. Is it recording? Yeah, it's still recording. Your comments are visible, Kevin. Get it, month? Lost a month? Okay, but in future we need to lose fingers and toes to get to base asterisks for computers. Is that base 8? I'm assuming that's base 8. So, moving on. Our next question comes from Ruby. And Ruby's actually got 2 questions on here. She's got this question and the next one. So, Ruby, to answer your question, based on 3.5 and 5e only, what race or half races are allowed in one but not the other? Well, in 3.5, any race is allowed, right? But for base races, the only races that aren't base races in 3.5 are Dragonborn and Tiefling. Now, you can find Dragonborn and you can find Tiefling in the Monster Manual for 3.5, and it gives you the requirements or the breakdowns of what you would have to do to play these as a playable race. Usually a credit or a challenge rating adjustment, something. But Dragonborn and Tiefling you can play as a playable race in 3.5. They were introduced as a core race in 5e. And Tiefling first appeared. Dragonborn was introduced as a core race in 5e, and Tiefling first appeared as a core race in 5e. So, extra notes: both editions let you play half elves and half orcs as standard choices. All the other exotic races or campaign setting races, Genasi, Aasimar, Goliath, Kinku, etc., aren't in the core PHBs or of either edition, but they are introduced in the supplementals, in the paperbacks, stuff like that. So, stuff like Warforged you can get from the Eberron campaign setting. Yeah. So, while there is... And to me, as long as you adjust the character or the challenge rating to your character, so you're not OP if you choose an OP race as your starting race, if you're following everything that levels you down to the other party members, I don't have a problem with whatever race you want to play. You want to play a hound? You want to play a hound archon? Go for it. So, hope that answers part 1 of your question. Part 2 of your question is what classes are allowed in one but not in the other? Well, there's only one that's not a base class in 3.5. That is a base class in 5e, and that's Warlock. However, in 3.5, you have the ability to play as a base class Scion, Psychic Warrior, a Wilder, and a Soul Knife. You don't have those. Those are not base classes in 5e. Now, with that being said, Wizard of the Coast, and we just went over it a couple weeks ago. Wizards of the Coast did introduce the new Scion class, or the new Psionics class, which has Scion and Psychic Warrior within it. So they're slowly but surely bringing all of those in. Artificer appears in each edition's Eberron line rather than the PHB. You got prestige classes in 3.5, dozens of them in 3.5. Arcane Archer, Blackguard, Lore Master, Mystic Theurge, Shadow Dancer, etc. This is where you also have your prestige class of it's a prestige War Mage. It's a prestige class that I always play. That prestige class allows mages to wear light armor without any negatives. That's why I wear it. That's why if I were to go back into my mage play, that's freaking a War Mage is you go to War Mage College basically, and you learn how to fight while casting spells. You learn how to fight with martial weapons. You learn how to wear armor while doing your verbal and your somatic components. So yeah, it's a fun class to play. It's a fun prestige class to play, and you couple that with the Dragonborn subclass, or the Dragonborn subrace, which you, as a race or as a feat, you have to meet certain prerequisites in order to become a Dragonborn. So, prerequisite meaning that your line of race has to be any non-dragon. No. You have to have some sort of you have to have some sort of dragon line in your lineage, or non-dragon in your lineage, one of the two. But you also have to have the prerequisite of being able to cast spells at will without without having to prepare them ahead of time. And if you following that logic, the only class that allows you to cast spells without preparation is the sorcerer class. The wizard class reads books. Sorcerers and warlocks are innate mages. They can cast spells without preparation. So, 5e does not include prestige classes. Instead, it folds similar concepts into subclasses. Eldritch Knight, Arcane Trickster, Oathbreaker, etc. Now, those are all prestige classes within 3.5. and they're unlocked at earlier levels than what you would get them at 3.5. Like with, for instance, in order to become a war mage as a prestige class, you need to be able to cast 5th level spells, I believe. And there's so many prerequisites for it. It's insane. So you couldn't even become a war mage until like level 10. Fox wouldn't be able to answer this question. He started D&D in college with Pathfinder. Grew up in a small town of farmers, so I didn't have anyone to play with D&D with during the first versions. Anyone want to build a transporter for me to visit Mr. Pirate in October or November? Well, okay, to be fair, everybody, she's asking for October because our anniversary is the 10th of October. I know Ron and Ruby's is around the same time. But November, one of our first things that we did after we got married in Kissimmee here in Florida was we went to a Jeff Dunham show. And on the 19th of October, or 19th of November, Jeff Dunham will be here in Gainesville. And then on the 22nd of November, he's going to be back in the same place where where Mrs. Pirate and I went to our first Jeff Dunham show in the Silver Springs Arena in Kissimmee. So, and she's asking for a transporter because while she could fly out here, she can't fly with a 5.5-hour layover somewhere in like Atlanta to get to Gainesville. It's a 2-hour or three something hour trip from Oklahoma City to Orlando, but then it's a 2.5-hour drive to Orlando for me and a 2.5-hour drive back. So she'd still be sitting in a car for 2.5 hours. She doesn't do very well on transports. So Fox has been working on a transporter. The issue comes when he can't send your matter. I can destroy your matter or reconstitute it at another location. Then is it really you or is it just a clone? Where in Florida? What do you mean where in Florida? You mean Gainesville or the Silver Springs or the Silver Spurs Arena in Kissimmee? Silver Springs is here in Florida too, but there's not arena. It's the Silver Spurs Arena in Kissimmee. The TARDIS might work, but the TARDIS travels time and space. You know what would really work? You know what would really work? The fastest ship in the galaxy. Somebody just build my wife the Millennium Falcon, please. I'll be happy. Teeny, if Bacon was in the chat, she would tell you on any corner in London. And technically, it's a police phone box. It's not even a regular red phone box. Though, if you want a red phone box, right? I know exactly where one's at. It's at my college campus in Troy University in Troy, Alabama. Builds tiny Lego Falcon. You know, Teeny, if Mrs. Pirate just looks over on my floating shelf next to the bed, she'd have my Lego Millennium Falcon. Sadly, the SR-71 is in the shop. You know, one of these days, I'm going to open this show up with a 4-minute or 5.5-minute friggin' the Los Angeles speed test. If you haven't heard about the Los Angeles speed test, go look it up on YouTube. This guy flew SR-71 Blackbirds for years, and he flew the single-seater model. So, just figure that one. It's all about how air traffic controllers talk to all pilots the same way, like they're fighter pilots. So, but moving on, we have a few more questions to get to, I think. Let's see. No, we're out of questions. We're now on to our discussion topic for the day. And we're continuing on with attack bonuses, because why start a series and just end before you get to 3.5 and the 2024 rules? Because I'm fixing to start playing a game and I have no idea, Fox, what the rules are for 5e. Because nobody likes to play 3.5. Well, it's not that nobody likes to play 3.5. Nobody understands 3.5 anymore. Because 5e is the easiest one to work with. So, it's something new. It's something I have to learn. And if I'm going to sit there and be a rogue in 5e, I've got to learn how to play. So, with that being said, let's break down how attack bonuses evolved from 3.5's base attack bonus to 5e's streamlined system. And now into the 2024 revision under D&D 1. I have to pull it up because it is right here. The shift from 3.5's base attack bonus, BAB, to 5e's proficiency plus ability modifier was more than cosmetic. BAB rewarded martial classes with multiple iterative attacks, each one weaker than the last. It's kind of similar to BAB. You had multiple attacks, and each multiple attack is weaker than the first attack. But saddled casters with low attack potential. 5e flattened that curve. Every class gains the same proficiency progression. Okay, I'm sorry. BAB rewarded martial classes with multiple attacks. That's the BAB. Each one weaker than the last. Got it. But they saddled casters with low attack potential. It made casters squishy. It really did, because what could you do? Magic missile. That one always hit. And technically, the base attack bonus is why casters in 3 fireball. In 3.5, your cantrips don't do squat. You get like dancing lights for a cantrip. You get Tasha's hideous laughter for a cantrip. You get Mordekaisen's magnificent mansion as a cantrip. They do absolutely nothing. So, I like the idea that 5e, every class gains the same proficiency progression, and an extra attack is a feature, not a default. This design democratized attack growth, simplified math on the tabletop, and made each level up feel meaningful across all the archetypes. You could make the argument that said every level in 3.5 was meaningful too, to a degree. For casters, every level was exactly meaningful, because not only did you get an extra spell slot in spells 1 and 2, but you also got a new spell slot in spells 3. Or you move up to level 6 and you get one extra spell slot in level 1 spells, one extra spell slot in level 2 spells, and then an additional like level 4 spell. So it was meaningful. The progression and the leveling for spellcasters in 3.5 was more meaningful than it was for a fighter, a barbarian. I'm going to even say a paladin. Clerics, you still got spells. Paladins, you still have spells too, but your martial abilities were more tailored to just beating down the door and taking the treasure. 5e sounds fun. Like I said, I've never played 5e before. So, with that being said, moving on. The mathematical underpinnings at its core, an attack's effectiveness is expected danger per round, DPR. Under 3.5, the P to hit dropped with each iterative roll, so later attacks contributed diminishing returns. In 5e, each swing in an extra attack sequence shares the same hit probability. I like that. I don't want to sit there and have a base attack bonus of plus 11 for my first attack and then plus 6 for my second attack. If I'm hitting you, I'm going to hit you with, I want to be able to hit you with my plus 11 every attack. It concentrates damage potential more predictably. The shift lowers the variance in damage output, making builds more consistent and easier to optimize. This is where your min-maxing is maximized. I do believe. Tell me, whoever's played 5e in the chat, please tell me if I'm wrong. 5e makes min-maxing the downfall. Or not the downfall, but the default. Fox is like, true, they simplified the bonuses so that they could be a little more emphasis put into role play for storytelling purposes. At least that's what a lot of people who played earlier versions have said. You know, 3.5 put a lot of emphasis on the role playing too. But for leveling progression, I think I'll find out here shortly. Okay, wait a minute. The issue with making something small and grow out, it comes with if you grow the particles, make it stable. It's the same as Ludo and Hagrid, any other large, furry, large, and sweet friend. Kirk plays both 3.5 home rules and 5e. Both are fine. 5e math is less nitpicky. I agree. It's difficult and dangerous process, could cause atoms to split. Fox, are you still talking about transportation and transporters? You know, if you're still talking about that, you could just build a Stargate. And then you wouldn't have to deconstruct the body. It's just a wormhole. Yes, I have one. He's hosting the podcast. Who? What? Anyway, we are not using all the brain cells. You know, if ArchaeoWolf was in the chat, ArchaeoWolf probably would have made that same argument. Moving on to the 2024 attack action refinements, the 2024 PHB clarified and polished 5e's framework, zeroing in on weapon interactions and reactions without touching the core proficiency curve. One weapon interaction per attack grants or consumes a draw stow per swing. A free object interaction still exists, letting you stow or draw outside the attack action's allotment. And movement between extra attacks remains explicit. Bonus action attacks like Flurry of Blows no longer permanent mid-sequence movement. And opportunity attacks can target any creature that leaves your reach, friend or foe, opening non-lethal or tactical control options. That seems interesting. Tactical and build implications. You have feat synergy. Sharpshooter and great weapon master trades become clearer when each swing has a consistent accuracy. I like that. Reaction economy, Warcaster, and Sentinel tactics grow more potent. Now you can threat manage. A rolling for a group initiative is always going to be better because then as a group, somebody could react to what's going on while everybody else is fighting, instead of having to do the whole round and then fighting a reaction and then having somebody react to that. Everything can react all at once. Daggerheart did the group initiative. See? Daggerheart did the group initiative, but that's also Critical Role. I mean, they have a lot. Did you guys hear? Speaking of Critical Role, and thank you for bringing up Daggerheart, Fox. Critical Role has been renewed for a 5th and final season for Vox Machina. Now, season 4 is not out yet. It won't be out until next year. They're doing the something 7, the Essential 7 right now. So that's one of their other campaigns that they did. But being all of that, if you guys know the show Game Changer and what is it, Roll20 or what is it? It's not Critical Role. I think it's Roll20. But Brennan, he's going to be the new DM taking Matt's place. Matt's moved back down to a player. Brennan's going to be the new DM of the new campaign for Critical Role. Brennan Lee Mulligan, Dimension 20. Thank you, Fox. Thank you. Not the Essential 7. Sensual 7. At least that's what the commercial I saw was for. It could be the Mighty Nine, but there's only 7 of them. They call themselves the Sensual 7. So, but yeah, Brennan Lee Mulligan is going to be the new DM for the next campaign for Critical Role, which is why Brennan left Game Changers. Even though he told everybody it was because he was going to go be, and get this, everybody in the chat who joined us from Bard Advice will get this and get this instantly. Brennan left Game Changers to go to quote say he was going to be a cobbler for American Doll Girls, or for American Girl Dolls. A cobbler. Hats off to Chaz. So, with that being said, I think looking at 5E's builds and 5E's rules on play progression will be absolutely phenomenal. Jeremy Crawford, another guy left, WotC to join Critical Role as well. Did they leave on their own accord, Fox? Or were they fired from or by Hasbro? Yes, Kevin. Doll shoes. He completely went all out, created a video of him in his treehouse saying that he has left Game Changers and has left Dimension 20, and he is going to be a cobbler for American Girl dolls, because in his mind all dolls need shoes. Brendan overdoes his voices. He's a nice guy though. You don't think Matt overdoes his voices either? I'm just saying. I like a DM who can do multiple voices. It brings out nuances within the game for roleplay. At least the tired part is just a theory. Yeah, I agree. Matt makes it work. Well, we'll see how Brennan does. Apparently, they went through a whole recruitment process, and you could see it online where they interviewed. They interviewed a pair. I don't know who the pair are, but I think it might have been Jeremy Crawford and the other guy. They were interviewing them to be the DMs. And it was all Vox Machina interviewing them, and they were asking them questions, and they were like, "What's this? What's that? Do we do voices? There's a dragon. Who said there was a dragon? Oh, that was Rhett and Link. Okay, thank you, Fox. See, I figured it was a bit, but it was still funny. See, this is why I keep Fox around. Fox keeps me honest on things." Anyway, guess what? We are done with questions. There are no more questions. The other guy's name is Chris Perkins. Perfect. Maybe we do an episode next week on Critical Role. But it is that time of our show where we travel to the depths of hell and find out who is better in our deadly dungeon. Nope, we're going here. We're going to 8. This week's deadly dungeon is between the IRA and the Taliban. Yes, it may be a little faux pas to put the IRA versus the Taliban, but you know what? We're going to do it anyway because it was suggested by our good friend River, who is no longer with our show. So, spoons versus forks? No. Combat spork. Absolutely, hands down, combat spork. Sporks for the win. Thank you, Ron. Sports for the win. Now, let's go in and see what we have. The Irish Republican Army, the IRA, primarily active from the 1960s to the 1990s as the Provisional IRA. They operate in urban and semi-rural environments. Their weapons and gear, they have Armalite rifles, AR-15s, M4s. They have AK-47s and M1 carbines. They use IEDs, car bombs, mortars, but not to be confused with the Irish car bomb. That's a drink, and that's delicious. They use regular handguns, grenades, and anti-personnel mines. Their tactics and strength, they utilize urban guerrilla warfare, ambushes, sabotage, and hit-and-run attacks. They have a deep knowledge of their city terrain and civilian masking. Because they're all civilians, they can blend in. They have a high discipline in cell-based operations. A cell being a small group of people, not your cell phone. Their weaknesses, they're limited access to heavy weapons or air support. They're guerrillas. They're like Che Guevara in Cuba. They depend on secrecy and local support, so they're kind of like the French underground like that during World War II. And they're vulnerable in open field combat because it's just them. They don't have vehicles. Whereas the Taliban, they were active from the mid-1990s to present. They're still active today. We know them. They started life as the Mujahideen. They went to Al-Qaeda. Now they're the Taliban. They switched back to Al-Qaeda. Consider ISIS part of the Taliban? Maybe. Yeah. But they operate in mountainous and rural terrains across Afghanistan and Pakistan. Their weapons and gear, they use the same AK-47s as the IRA, which means if in a battle, the IRA could take the Taliban's weapons or take their ammo and still be able to use it. They have PKM machine guns, and they use the RPG-7s. Their other weapons, they use IEDs, same as IRA, but they also have suicide vests and vehicle-borne explosives, or VBEDs. Their vehicles, though, they use the bestest truck Toyota ever created. You could run this thing to the ground, and it's been proven on Top Gear. You could put freaking boat motors on the bed of this thing, weld up metal plates to the bottom of it, and you could turn it into a boat. You can take it to the Arctic and drive it through the Arctic to the North Pole. The vehicle in question, the Toyota Hilux. They also use motorcycles and other captured NATO gear, because of, obviously we left it there. Their strengths and tactics, their mountain guerrilla warfare, ambushes, roadside bombs, and sniper attacks, strong religious and ideological cohesion, experience against conventional forces and drone warfare. They're less effective in urban combat. They have a limited technological infrastructure, and they're vulnerable to psychological operations and infiltration. Blast freaking heavy metal or punk rock while going to battle with the Taliban. It freaks them out. The tactical overviews. The strategy for the IRA is to use urban terrain to set traps, ambush Taliban squads, and detonate car bombs and choke points. Operate small cells to avoid detection and maintain mobility, and exploit the Taliban's unfamiliarity with city layouts and with civilian masking. Heavy buffering. I'm sorry, Kirk. I don't know what it is. It's this stupid place. Kills me that the Hilux isn't available in North America. It is available in North America, Ron. And it's just the name they can't bring into North America. You could go to Mexico and get a Toyota Hilux and have it named the Hilux. But in the United States and Canada, you have to buy the Tacoma. It is renamed the Tacoma, but it is the exact same truck. The Toyota Tacoma is the Toyota Hilux. Yes, Miss Pirate, Kirk's minis are like gremlins. But the Taliban strategy, they use the RPGs and machine guns to suppress the IRA positions. They deploy suicide bombers to breach fortified IRA safe houses. And they leverage mobility in open terrain and religious cohesion for morale. What this doesn't say and doesn't use is they also set up traps utilizing terrain and stuff to ambush, and they detonate car bombs. Not only do they detonate car bombs, but they detonate goat bombs, camel bombs, freaking road bombs. Like, they will go out in the middle of the night, and this is knowledge I have from being over there. They will go out in the middle of the night, dig up a patch of roadway, bury a bomb with a cell phone activated trigger, repave the highway, and leave and wait until the military force drives by. And then they won't detonate it on the first truck. They won't detonate it on the second truck. No, they'll hit the third truck. They'll hit the seventh truck. In a convoy of like 60 trucks, they will hit the middle of the convoy. Because what does that have to do? You have to stop the convoy, and each end, well, you have to get away first. The back of the convoy has to turn around and drive the opposite direction. The front of the convoy drives drives further up to get away from that area, and then you set up a perimeter. But by that time, whatever's in the middle is being overrun by enemy forces. So, With that being said, the battlefields for this battle rotate between urban alleyways, rural farmlands, mountain passes, and bombed out industrial zones, ensuring both sides face terrain advantages and disadvantages. Now, we all know that I use a proprietary software to do a 100 battle simulation, Deadliest Dungeon, or a la Deadliest Warrior style, right? We also know that we do not use my simulator's numbers. We go to the poll in the Discord to see who wins. And you guys overwhelmingly selected the IRA at an 86% to 14% over the Taliban. However, my 100 battle simulation, 46 to 54. Aggressive ambushes, RPG suppression, suicide tactics in open terrain. The Taliban win 54 out of 100 times. The IRA only wins 46% of the time with superior urban tactics, disciplined cell operations, and effective uses of IEDs. And that's typical for small alleys in urban environments. The IRA is not designed or not built to fight in the open rural spaces or in mountainous terrains like the Taliban is. With that being said, this is what we get. Results of last week's Discord poll: the IRA 86% versus the Taliban 14%. The results of the simulations: IRA 46% versus the Taliban 54%. And that goes to show our bracket for, our bracket is this one. Our bracket is looking a little like this. We got Ultron having moved forward. We got Mozart, Beethoven moving forward. We got the Crocodiles versus the IRA moving forward, and the Thieves Guild. And as you guys have already seen, for the split second that it was up, next week on our Deadly Dungeon, we shall have Bender Rodriguez, the bending robot from Futurama, versus the Green Ranger. And I will try to remember to put this up in the poll as soon as I get off of here. Instead of waiting like 2 days, because I know the poll's not over. They're tied in our last round, which propelled him into this season's Deadly Dungeon. But have the votes ever been so different from the simulator or from the simulation? Yes, actually. And the votes in the simulation have been the same as the votes for the Discord. If they multiply, if you get them wet, maybe he's saving us from minis taking over the world by keeping wet paint off of them. Maybe. Maybe. In truth, one of my mini cats got at my minis and tore them up. Full disclosure, I just have the 2 minis, but now I gotta get them repainted. Or reprint your other minis. Death to the minis. We want a death to the minis. But with that being said, that is the end of our regularly scheduled program tonight. We are now going back to here, because now we are in Chat. And we like to start off Chat typically with good things for the week, but we also want to extend our greatest sympathies, like we did last week, to Amanda, Puffy Cheeto. She will be burying her mother tomorrow morning, or tomorrow during the day sometime. So our hearts and our minds and our thoughts are with Amanda and her family as they struggle through this time. With that being said, Amanda would probably not want us to not do good things for the week. So, with that being said, lay it on me, chat. What are the good things for the week? The good thing that I have for the week is that football has started. And it restarted last night with the Philadelphia Eagles playing the Dallas Cowgirls. And yes, I said the Dallas Cowgirls. The game was suspended for an hour and 45 minutes while lightning passed by 6 miles past the stadium in Philadelphia. And after the game restarted, nobody scored a single more point the rest of the third or all of the fourth quarter. And the Philadelphia Eagles held the Dallas Cowboys to 20 points. And the Philadelphia Eagles won the game by 4. It was 24-20 Philadelphia. The game started out pretty interesting. One of Philadelphia's players, before the start of the game, walked up to Dak Prescott and spat in his face. Immediately he was ejected. Why am I dissing the girls like that? Well, I'm not talking about the Dallas Cowgirl cheerleaders. I'm just talking about the Dallas Cowgirls. And maybe they'll do something this year. Maybe. They looked good. Problem is, they traded Micah Parsons at the beginning of the week to Green Bay. Now, Micah Parsons wanted the trade. He wasn't going to play anyway. They were still expecting to play. At least that's what Brian Schottenheimer was thinking. But that got pulled. The rug got pulled out from under Brian Schottenheimer real fast when Jerry Jones traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. So, with that being said, Kirk's good thing of the week. The date of his mostly retirement has been set for the end of September. Sue will be a man of mostly leisure. Well, that's good, because in retirement, nobody can hear your minis scream when you apply paint to them. And Ron is getting better at operating his router, a Black & Decker plunge router, using it to mangle wood and wire into deck railings. Oh, nice. I like plunge routers. And Kevin and I are on the same page, so you'll have time to finally paint those minis now. Congratulations, Kirk. Yes, congratulations on the retirement, Kirk. It's probably going to be well-deserved retirement. Transitioning to a full-time minimum painter. I like that, Ron. I like that a lot. So, with that being said, the good thing for the week is, I believe, Sunday afternoon. I don't know. I don't even know the schedule. But we're going to find out the schedule. When does Chaz's Jacksonville Jaguars play? They play Sunday at 1 p.m. and they play the NFC South's Carolina Panthers at 1 p.m. At least from last year. Now, we're going off of last year's statistics now. At least with last year, 2 terrible teams going at it first game of the season. Let's hope. Now, I have to root for the Jags on this. I'm not rooting for the Carolina Panthers. I can't root for the Panthers to win because I need the Panthers to lose. And only because Tampa Bay is in the NFC South. They're going to win the NFC South Championship anyway, but it would help if Jacksonville helped that along. So, let's go Jaguars. Woohoo! And besides, I'm up here and Duval County is like an hour and a half away. I can actually go visit Chaz while he's working on Sunday. So, with that being said, Tampa Bay plays Atlanta in Atlanta this weekend. Now, we have to win this game. And it's also Sunday the 7th at 1 p.m. So, the Carolina Panthers play at 1 p.m. Tampa Bay plays at 1 p.m. I think it's going to be great. And if Amanda watches this later, Monday, September 15th, Tampa Bay, Houston. Let's roll. I know you don't like Houston, or you do like Houston. I don't know. But let's see. Tampa Bay doesn't play a home game until the 21st of September when the Jets come to Tampa. Then the 28th, we're back at home with the Eagles, who we have beaten multiple times in regular season and in the playoffs. Then we go to Seattle on October 5th. We're back home on the 12th for the 49ers. Then we're in Detroit. Anybody up in Detroit? Tampa Bay goes to the Lions. Then we go to New Orleans. And then we're back at home with the Patriots. Kevin's good thing of the week is that it is done. Well, that is a good thing for the week. And your weekend's starting, Kevin. Bard Discord have a football chat channel. We do. It's called Sports Ball, apparently. Or Sports or something. We had one. So, that'll do. Yep, it was changed to Sports Ball because people were talking about soccer and football and rugby and everything. Anything that's a ball and it's a sport. I mean, technically, you could even say ball bearings are balls, so NASCAR could go in there. I'm looking for the weekend too. It's second race of the NASCAR playoffs. It's the first weekend of football, and I'm sorry, I did see something in the news. Well, not necessarily news, but on the sports channels and everything. Everybody is severely impressed with how much Tampa Bay has improved, and people are saying Tampa Bay is still being underrated this year. Underrated. With that being said, boxing ball? Yep, sure. Anything sports goes in sports ball, Kevin. Anything sports goes in sports ball. I mean, hell, if you want to even talk about the Crawford, the Crawford Canelo fight? Go for it. I'm all for it. But it is 11:25. We've gone for an hour and 15 minutes because I started the stream late because I had to restart the stream. So, with that being said, we're going to do our closing arguments and stuff. Please like and share the stream if you like the stream. Your support matters. I couldn't do this without all of y'all. I mean, I could, but there wouldn't be any interaction, and it'd be a 15 or 20-minute show. So, yeah, I could not do this without you guys. I thank you guys for supporting me on this journey, and we're at 30 episodes. 30 episodes. Let's go. Let's keep it going. Good night, Ruby. Good night, Ron. We will be back next week, and I'm going to try and do this. Let's see. No, that's the wrong one. It's this one. We're going to try and do this, and I have added the email address to the ending of the stream. So, with that being said, I want to thank everybody. Thank Ron and Ruby and Kevin and Kirk and Mrs. Pirate and Teeny and Yokai, everybody who is here tonight, and special shout outs to Amanda Puffy special shout out to our UK friends, Bacon, special shout out to our friends over on the North Sports Discord who aren't in the show tonight. Special shout out to Military Fox for joining. Thank you very much, sir. With that, I am always in with may the winds always billow your sails and the ocean be as calm as glass. Take what you can. Give nothing back. I am the Pirate Archaeologist. I am the Rogue Pirate Archaeologist. I am the Rogue Thief Pirate Archaeologist. or Captain Bartholomew Bones McCoy, signing off for another episode of Rogue Bard Advice. See you all next week. Same Rogue time, same Rogue channel.